She's had a family emergency, so won't be able to join us anymore. Just some brief intros before we start, I think. I'm going to start in the order I have so I don't have to flip my pages, so we're going to jump around a little bit. So I'll start with Bec Sandridge. So Bec Sandridge is a queer pop shapeshifter known for her striking black and white hair, which she's cut off. When I read the bio, I was like, and then I saw your Instagram story, I thought, babe, you've ruined the bio. And a voice reminiscent of David Byrne and Kate Bush. For over a decade, she transformed pop into performance art, blending theatre, fuzz pedals, and queer angst. Her new single, Always a Fan, co-produced with Nick Zahiris, leads her new album, Happy Futures, featuring collaborators like Tony Buchanan and Grammy winner Kyan Reardon. Sandridge has supported Mitski, St. Vincent, and Tegan and Sarah, played major festivals, and appeared on the L Word and Q&A. Her bold style and Triple J rotation and a sold-out 2024 Great Southern Night show. Welcome, Bec Sandridge. We've also got Elana Stone with us today. Elana is a double ARIA award-winning singer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist, celebrated for her inventive blend of folk, electronica, indie pop, and balladry. Her 4 acclaimed solo albums showcase her evolving sound and lyrical vulnerability. As a founding member of All Our Exes Live in Texas, Elana has toured globally, sharing stages with renowned acts. She also performs with Missy Higgins and the John Butler Trio, and collaborates widely across Australia's music scene. Her authentic voice, humour, and fearless artistry bring both lightness and truth to her music, affirming her dynamic force in the Australian music scene. All right, that's Elana. Welcome, Elana, everyone. Down the end, we've got Zeadala. Zeadala is a singer-songwriter, rapper, and multidisciplinary musician of Thai Araki heritage who lives and works on the lands of the Darug and Gundagara peoples. Her artistry blends soulful acoustic melodies with hip-hop rhythms and honest lyricism, rooted in the themes of healing, self-empowerment, connection to land, social justice, and reflection. Zeadala has released a range of evocative singles, including Somewhere, which explores vulnerability and connection, and has collaborated with many artists across the hip-hop and indie sphere. As a live performer, her shows are celebrated for their spontaneous expression and ability to engage audiences with uplifting, purpose-driven soundscapes. She has performed locally and internationally since 2015, supporting the likes of Omar Offendum and Rebel Diaz. Welcome, Zeadala. And last but not least, we have Zeppelin Hamilton. So Zeppelin is from Velvet Trip, which is a psychedelic pop project of a Wiradjuri artist, blending psych, rock, soul, and indie pop into a rich, genre-defying sound. Rooted in a spirit of experimentation, the project explores themes of self-discovery, vulnerability, and imagination through immersive production and vivid sonic landscapes. In 2026, Zeppelin was named the recipient of the APRA AMCOS Professional Development Award, recognizing the project's artistic strength and ongoing creative evolution. Through Velvet Trip, Zeppelin has built a reputation for compelling live shows and authentic artistry, connecting with audiences through raw, honesty, and expressive musical storytelling. Constantly evolving, Velvet Trip continues to push creative boundaries while building a deeply personal and transportive world for listeners to explore. Welcome, Zeppelin. Okay, let's kick it off. So, I'm just going to make a statement and then I want to ask a question. As the music industry continues to evolve with new platforms, new pressures, and new ways of working, songwriting remains one of the few constant points of connection. It's where ideas begin, where stories are shared, and where we're reminded that beneath all the noise, we're still human, still creative, and still trying to say something that's real. So in saying this, I want to start with a quick question for the panel, which is, what's one thing that lyric writing and music creation gives you that nothing else does? We'll start with Zepp, and then we'll go down the line. How's that sound?
Good. I think personally, like songwriting for me and just music in general has been like a way for me to process a lot of things in my life. So I don't know, I think a lot of like artists have different experiences or different intentions behind songwriting and what they choose to put in songs. And for me, I can't help but sort of talk about my experiences or storytelling, and I think culturally as well, like being a First Nations artist, I think like part of what we do is inherently storytelling, and just having that, trying to refine that skill and do something that's unique to myself and honest with myself is the way that I kind of like to operate. But yeah, I don't know. What was the question?
What's one thing that lyric writing and music creation gives you that nothing else does?
That processing my emotions through, and my lived experiences through music and having a place to put them. So that's what it does for me.
Perfect. Down the line.
I think I'm going to second that motion. It's free therapy, and it's the extra dimension, I guess, of the lyrics and the music that build a world that you can inhabit, an alter ego, and experience a different side of yourself that enables you to process that therapy almost physically and imaginatively, and you can project what you want or you can project what you don't want. You can, lately I've been hearing a lot about just whether I would be doing this regardless of my career, and I always come back to the fact that I will be doing it in a vacuum or not. So that songwriting is just exactly the way I process the world. It also gives me community, and it gives me opportunity to see different parts of the world. So yeah, I'm lucky in that way. That's my answer.
Cool. I'm going to third that motion. I think for me it's also the thing that I'm drawn to is like the building of the world, in which you can see yourself in. Growing up queer in regional spaces, representation wasn't really a thing for me, so being able to kind of express myself in that way, and I also love travel and meeting new people in that way and working with other collaborators. I think I don't know if it's something that I don't have in other spaces. Like I definitely pay for therapy, but I guess with music I'm also like out of pocket in that way too. So
I'd like to start off just by acknowledging as well the traditional custodians of the land, and acknowledge the Wadi Wadi people in this beautiful, sacred Dharawal country. I'm really grateful to be sharing on this land as has been done for thousands of years before. I think for me, songwriting, as I've come to understand more recently, is that while I've been writing songs and wanting to express things, is that while I'm writing the song, I'm learning that the song is also writing me. And it's been something that I've been discussing with a good friend of mine. I call him Mr. Brad Stedman. And we just share really cool ideas. So now I'm in this process of understanding that we can be written by the songs and learn more about ourselves in that process as well.
Great answers. Alrighty, from that, we're going to go in a little bit of a different order for my questions because we've just mentioned a couple of things that I think would be great to talk about. So as artists who respond to what's happening around you, socially, politically, and culturally, how do you decide which ideas or messages you want to give a voice to in your art? And what do you hope your music does once it's out in the world? This is for everyone, so whoever would like to speak to that first.
I think for me, like when I'm writing, there's not really like much edification at first. Like it's kind of just throwing all of the paint at the canvas, and then a lot of the ideas are kind of rubbish, but they still exist on the computer or in my brain somewhere. And then generally, like I'm interested in making albums, so with that there's a culling process, and you can only kind of fit a certain amount of songs, and also like only some of the songs have a running theme. So it's kind of like grabbing a big bouquet of balloons and then popping a few based on which ones sit well together. So that's kind of my way of doing it. It's just like getting all of the feelings and bumblebee brain thoughts out, and then sitting with them until I know which ones feel true.
Anyone else want to talk to that?
Kind of similar. I think when I write, I don't usually know what I'm writing. It doesn't really helped me to like have a idea of what I want to write about first, usually. And so often it changes. So it's usually like, I would usually sort of just start with like a melody, and then I'd be saying like the same thing over and over again within that melody, and then I kind of let that kind of guide the rest of the path. And then sometimes it's not even until it's released that I go, oh, that's what that's about. Or someone asks me, like, what's that about? And then I have to, I don't really know, I just make something up. So yeah, I think, but your subconscious kind of like does that work, and I think again, you kind of just end up talking about things that maybe you're feeling that aren't on the surface, and then you see it through something you've written subconsciously, and you go, wow. So I don't think it's like, for me personally, it's not like crafting like a political message or like a intended kind of like, message. It's just something that I think kind of comes up, and it's an opportunity to reflect on that. And then, yeah, I'm the same as Bec, like I write albums, so then again, it's an opportunity to kind of consolidate a theme or figure out like what you want to say across a body of work and place it within a story structure or something like that.
And do you ever find, like, for all of you, you have things in your music, that's stuff that you're kind of just chucking in there and leaving for self-interpretation for the listener?
Not really.
Not you, Elana? She's like, I've got a message and I'm going to put it in the song.
I think it's quite intentional because of that culling process. Certainly lyrically, it's definitely like refined down to the purest idea of what you're trying to say. I think your question was it like about the political and social moment that we're in, and like how to reflect that or how to operate within that?
Yeah, and like how do you decide what messages you want to give a voice to?
Yeah. I'm going to just take a weird tangent, but I just read Jacinta Ardern's autobiography, and which I got from the library, which is such a cool place. I just wanted to mention big ups to libraries. I had sort of forgotten, because media is so saturated at the moment and so frenetic. I forgot, I guess, like about how she operated during the Christchurch massacre, where 51 people were shot inside a mosque by an Australian. And just the way that she talked about that incident, she named him as a terrorist, and she didn't, like, I don't actually remember what his name was because she didn't give him much recognition as a human being. We remember, the Ivor Mulats, and, that these people who commit these terrible acts, they become almost celebrities because of how they are upheld by leaders and the media. And I think she very purposefully named the victims and not the perpetrator. And I think just in terms of songwriting, I guess just draw a long bow here, I think I want to emulate the best possible part of myself, or part of culture sometimes. So, I still want to talk about the ugly things, but when I go on stage and sing those songs, it's me saying them to myself and saying them to an audience, and it's almost like affirmation. I think you have to be really careful about what you say to yourself out loud and to other people. And I think that was just thinking about how she, I'm not saying that Jacinta Ardern's perfect, none of us are perfect, but it was a moment where I think there was a choice of what to uphold. And I think that she made a really cool choice. I think that's what you can do with your songwriting too.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Hey, I think that we're in such a, volatile point in our world's history. And, as a hip hop artist that has always written about social justice, environmental justice, I also see that it's important to write about joy as resistance, to celebrate culture and our language and our heritage, and really not give too much importance to the powers that be that are trying to divide people, and really focusing on works that provide healing and bring us back to ourselves, so we can better connect with one another.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question on that. So, your songs are very emotionally honest, and there's also a clear sense of atmosphere in the way that your songs are built. Were your early influences more lyric-driven artists, or were you drawn to mood and production first?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I've never been asked that. I would say I've always been drawn to lyrics. I started writing poetry before I started writing songs. And I was very influenced by artists like Tupac. But I also listened to a lot of Bob Marley and Mariah Carey, which, you know, amazing production. So maybe it's a mixture of all of those elements. Yeah.
All right, let's stay on the influence train. Elana, you mentioned in an interview with ABC Music that as a child, watching Rage and video hits, especially Robert Palmer and the Simply Irresistible Ladies, influenced you to get into music. So what are some other particular artists or albums that have had a significant impact on your songwriting style, and how have they impacted you?
Oh wow, I don't know whether I stand by that Robert Palmer thing. It was probably more just about outfits. I'm just one of those like Joni Mitchell kids. I lost my mind over Blue, the album, and it just like soundtracked my first breakup and taught me to sing. And I think like I go through these periods where I'm just like, that is everything, and I just want to do that. And then I heard Rufus Wainwright, and I was like, oh, that's everything. And I'd kind of gone through my jazz, like Nina Simone obsession and my Led Zeppelin. I don't know why I pointed at you, your name's Zeppelin. But, you know, I think I go through these like obsessive periods where I just want to do that, which is really confusing for artistic output because I just want to jump across all genres at all times. But those artists to me have elements like Rufus Wainwright has, you know, folk, he has opera, he has like baroque, he has pop. I like those artists that are bringing lots of different influences into their music. So those are just, I guess, some of the people that I've loved. And yeah, I think I get excited when I hear artists that scare me a little bit. And I'm like, oh, there's something here. I don't know quite what it is, but I know it's going to have a big influence. Yeah.
Does anyone else want to talk on that?
I think it's really important. Like, I think we all have our influences that stem from like your early childhood or whenever you started getting exposed to music, or maybe it's not even music, it might be, you know, poetry or literature or something else entirely that inspires you to create. But I think as soon as you start becoming closed-minded with what you're listening to or judging like other people's art, or not being open to different genres and kind of pigeonholing yourself, you sort of start to box yourself in, and there's always something you can pull from any genre, you know, be it, you know, super contemporary pop to, you know, some obscure kind of, you know, Basque jazz song, or, you know, there's always, you know, be the production or the chords or the, you know, like the cultural importance of, you know, there's so much that you can draw from. So I think it's just really important to just stay as open as you can and keep listening to stuff, and, you know, trying to think about things positively and critique things from a positive angle, and try and find something inspiring from anything that you're engaging with in that way. Just a side note.
That's great. You want to talk to it?
Yeah, I think for me, it's like I'm drawn to more the attitude rather than the sonics. Like people like Cyndi Lauper and Kate Bush kind of have inspired my solo stuff, and their kind of attitude to like pivoting from record to record, like creating, you know, a jazz record to a punk record to like a really pop girly kind of thing. Yeah, I think always just pushing forward is something that I find inspiring, and trying to sit in different worlds and using different palettes and characters and voices and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so talking about like different genres and stuff, I want to kind of delve into collaborating then, because I think collaborating with different genres can always be a really interesting thing. So for those in the room that haven't done much co-writing before, can you walk us through a typical co-writing session from how it starts to how it unfolds? Like, do you turn up with ideas, talk splits early in this in the writing, or just see where the day goes? Whoever wants.
I mostly like working with my friends. I find the like kind of labely set up session thing a bit weird still, but that probably speaks to my own anxieties. But yeah, I feel like it's kind of assumed that it's like 50-50, like you're both in the room and both kind of contributing the same amount of energy, unless discussed after or before. And yeah, I just feel like if you don't come out with a good song, that's fine. It's like a good hang and you get to have a good meal otherwise. But yeah, just kind of not putting too much emphasis on coming out with a product is always like a good feeling session to me. Whether you like get to play with like a new guitar pedal or a synth, and it's like that might inspire an idea down the line for another record or something like that, or it might be used for another artist. But yeah, just kind of removing expectations.
Yeah, you mentioned like anxiety around co-writing, because it can be really intense, especially if you've never done it before. So for all of you, what are some of the qualities you look for in a good collaborator? Because I think all of you have done collaborative writing. Yeah?
I would.
You go, Zia.
Okay. I would say that if it's not fun, maybe don't do it.
Great advice.
Yeah, I think creating music is also a way of like building community. So yeah, like Bec, I like jamming and creating with my friends, and I think it really depends on who you work with. Some of my friends really like to talk about the splits of things up front, which is fine. Some of my friends don't, which is also fine. I like to keep the processes organic and see what comes out. But yeah, if it's not really like building connection and community and you're not having fun, I would say maybe don't work with those people. Yeah.
Or you might come out with like, I sing backing vocals for Missy Higgins, and her like song Scar is about collaborating with people that tried to like change her sound, and so she just like wrote a song about that, and that went pretty well for her.
Yes, it did.
That's it.
I think people have different ways of collaborating, and especially like if you're like working with publishers and you're getting put into songwriting rooms with other published artists or producers or people, like when it starts to become a more kind of industry curated capacity, sometimes those conversations and expectations are important to kind of communicate early, because often people are, you're not there, like sort of, everyone's there to work, and it's a very different thing, and obviously you find a middle ground where the creativity can be really fun, and so it should be, and you know, there's genuine, beautiful, creative collaborations that come out of those spaces, but I think it's also just like being confident in being able to know your worth within those spaces too, and if you feel like you need to be, you know, upfront about splits and those kind of conversations early, it is really important to have those, because like from experience, like I've definitely gotten down the line where like a song's been released or something's happened, and then you're trying to have these negotiations post release, and then there might be a bit of money involved, and then it can, you know, it's like it's almost like, you know, it's hard to quantify something in the moment. It seems like this made up random thing until it's not. So like I do think it's important in those particular professional environments or industry curated environments to like really have those conversations, and it works differently in different places as well. Like I've just been in LA for a month doing a lot of co-writing over there, and it's an entirely different thing to how it is over here, and you know, there's different ways of engaging in those kind of environments. So yeah, I think as much as like it is great to let everything flow and feel natural and really focus on the creative stuff, I think it is super important to be also like confident and like and clear about exactly what's going on, and it's better for everybody. And I don't think it gets in the way of creativity. I think that it actually can add to it, because you know, then you're enhancing and giving the opportunity down the line to collaborate again, and it can create more sustainable collaborative relationships, because then there's no awkwardness that comes up later on and can put a bad taste in everybody's mouth.
And do you find all of you, like having written collaboratively as well, that's affected how you write as a solo artist? Like Elana, like coming from all that X's and now having your solo project, has that like majorly affected that? And tell us how.
Yeah, massively. I guess All Our Exes Live in Texas is very much a genre-specific band, and it was very easy in a way to write for that band because the sound was so defined. So when I was writing for my own stuff outside of that band, it would kind of be like all the songs that I was writing that were kind of more electro pop, which was not necessarily how I imagined them originally, but I wanted to create something that was quite a different sonic environment from All Our Exes Live in Texas. But it becomes tricky, I guess, because people only have so much attention. I think like in the world of music, a lot of my connections are through the folk world and through, I guess that, folk pop rock world, and the music I was making, electro pop, is kind of like, I don't know, it's like what a music that a 25-year-old might make, and it didn't really, I don't think people really understood where it was coming from, so I didn't have that in my mind when I was writing it, and maybe if I'd been more strategic, I would have been like, it's a bit dumb to make an electro pop album as a solo artist, but like, I just was writing all these songs that fit in that genre, and that's the genre I was listening to a lot, so I guess it did influence my writing in that way, that I was writing very different sort of music. But yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I'm just saying.
There's no correct answer. It's just how it affected you, I guess. Well, I guess following on from that, like you're a multi-instrumentalist as well. How does playing multiple instruments change the way that you think about an arrangement before you hit record?
I just think about what instrument I'm going to write it on initially, because that really changes the way the song comes out. If I write on piano, like I'm a lot more lucid, versatile on the piano than I'm on the guitar, but I also have habits on the piano. I'm sure we can all relate to this, but I have habits on the piano that I can't shake, and on the guitar I don't really know what notes I'm playing. I kind of know what chords I'm playing, but if I start just using my ear on the guitar, I'm not using any preconceived ideas. I'm just using, I think every instrument offers you something different from a songwriting perspective. I rarely write on the accordion, but when I do, it'll come out quite dirgy or like polkery, and that's kind of like interesting too. I try and, I guess, do something different a lot of the time just to see what happens, use a different palette to start with.
Can anyone else speak to that? Like, do you have a comfort, emotional support instrument, or?
Yeah, I think guitar is my first instrument, and then vocals was kind of my second thing that I just self-taught on a little cassette recorder. But I kind of, at the moment, I'm writing in a way that I've not done before. I'm like writing on guitar or synth or piano, and then with the vocal line, and I'm going to remove all of the instrumentation around it and then rewrite on a new instrument, and see how that kind of comes out. I don't know, it might be a flop, so ask me maybe in a year once that album is done. But I think there's something really beautiful and exciting about kind of being a big kid and like playing on something that you don't know how to play, because I think the same as you, like when you know a language so well, it's really easy to use the same kind of words or the same palette. So it's exciting to me to kind of something, whatever that instrument is.
So we've talked about like comfort instruments, and I guess like the collaborating thing as well, like working with comfortable people and making sure that that's a safe space for you. But we don't always talk about the actual place that you're doing the songwriting in, right? So are there certain places for you guys or environments that really spark your songwriting? Like, where do you find your inspiration comes from naturally? Is it a home studio or a particular studio somewhere, or like going down to the beach or whatever? Zia, do you want to speak to that first?
Yeah, sure. I really like going into the bush to write. I've been finding it really hard to hear my own thoughts when I was living in Sydney, so I just relocated to the Blue Mountains so I could like hear my own thoughts and melodies and words and things like that. So yeah, just really being in nature, I think.
I like driving and just having a little yell in the car, and potentially like illegally doing a voice memo. Yeah, or just in my room's good. Like drum machine, guitar, keeping it simple. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of say I just have like I've got like so many voice memos on my phone of just like, yeah, not great stuff, and then some stuff that's all right. But I think just having like the ability for me personally to have like an instant, like I'm not really like a sit down and write a song person. I kind of will just like have a spark, you know, like going to get some broccoli from the shop or something, and then it's got to happen right then and there. So I think just having, for me, it's just like voice memos and kind of anywhere that I'm able to quickly get something down, or if I'm like overseas or something, I usually have a guitar with me, and we'll just sort of sit, you know, if something comes to me, I'll just have a voice memo ready to go. So I think it's just kind of anywhere like with momentum for me feels good. I think at home I feel a bit stagnant maybe, and don't have that same sort of inspiration coming through.
I'm just trying to, I think, like Heidi said before, I'm just trying to work it into my life in a consistent way. Because I am a mum and I have jobs and stuff, and I just, like, as soon as I put my kids down, I'm so exhausted. I just want to like lie on the couch and watch TV. But that's the moment where I like have to go. I'm just going to do 15 minutes of creative writing just to like empty my brain, and I'll give myself that much time, and often that will turn into an hour. And I have a super awesome partner, and he pretty much just loves everything that I do. And so after an hour, I'll be like, hey, can I show you something I made? And like, I'm like really into validation and accountability. Like I said before about songwriting in a vacuum, I actually don't know that I can do it. But I get to show him, like even if I just get to show him, that kind of gives me a purpose, like to get to the end of that hour with something that's relatively finished. And I try and finish it because I find it hard to tap back into that feeling and that moment later. So yeah, I just try and build it into my life. Well, this is what I'm doing now, is trying to build it into my life in a really consistent way. So I'm doing it once a week at least.
Yeah, I think, like, you know, when we start to have families and all that kind of stuff, it's like you've really got to schedule in, like the calendar's like, okay, this is when I'm going to catch up on this episode of this or whatever. So does anyone else like schedule songwriting? And like, do you find, because I know there's a lot of people that find that really hard to go, okay, I'm going to sit down 6 p.m. on a Tuesday and I've got to write a verse. Like, do you find that really difficult? Do you rather do it organically?
A couple of my friends, like who are like I guess successful or whatever, they've been really inspiring to see like how they actually engage with it as a job, like working and having like a really structured routine of, you know, like just kind of pushing, and you know, like I think it's not, you know, obviously everybody's got different lives and different priorities, and you know, and it's also like if you're not in a place where it is financially viable, you know, it's hard to dedicate that time there and to be able to allocate that sort of intention with it. But like, I think like songwriting is like, it really is like a muscle, and you have to, you know, if you do it regularly, you can, you know, really kind of figure out a way that works for you and explore different ways that works for you, and that consistency I think is really important to grow. And you're not always gonna, I think, just like relinquishing the idea that every time you sit down it's got to be, you know, the best song you've ever written. I think it's writing all the bad songs in between, and then sometimes you'll have something there. You know, I think that consistency is really healthy if you're privileged enough to be able to, you know, allocate that time to it.
Yeah, I feel like when I decided I was going to do music full time, I tried to be really consistent, turning up as a writer and like having a shower, getting dressed for the day, and like working from home. I think in the same breath, like recognizing when you're burnt out, is really hard, especially like I think a lot of like the conversations this morning were around like social media grind and all that kind of stuff. Like for me, the last year I like consciously took a year off songwriting, which was kind of crazy, and it really, I only just started writing the last month, and I was like actually excited about songwriting again, which felt really nice to like be itching to like pick up a guitar and be that annoying person walking around with a guitar attached to me. But yeah, I think just recognizing when you need to like push through on an idea and like kind of say like get out of your pajamas and like write something versus like, hey, actually like it's okay to like not be constantly creating for the sake of ultimate capitalism and yeah.
Zeadala, do you have a thing about that?
Yeah, so I think the way that I kind of keep myself accountable is sometimes doing like songwriting challenges with my friends, and just say, yeah, let's try and write a song by the end of the week. But also to keep myself accountable, I tend to fill my calendar up with rehearsals and studio sessions, because if I know that I have a studio session or a rehearsal coming up, like have to do the thing, like I can't rock up and not have a verse or a chorus written or something to contribute to the projects. And I'm constantly working on 3 or 4 different projects at the same time, so I have to schedule those things in, like write a verse for this project or finish the bridge in this song, and that kind of keeps me consistent with writing. Yeah.
Do we have time for one more question for the panel, or do we need to jump to crowd questions? All right, I'm going to do another question. Yeah, because I'm waiting for someone to come and tell me you've only got 5 minutes left. Okay, actually, I might ask this question then if we have a bit more time, if I can find it. Okay, so a catchy hook can be the thing that turns the song into a real earworm, like You're Only Gonna Break My Heart from Velvet Trips the Bend, or I'm So Sick of This Shit from Elana's Shitty Shit. So do you ever consciously write certain lines knowing that they'll hit differently in a live setting? At what point in the songwriting process do you start to think about how a song will translate to a live crowd?
With Shitty Shit, I didn't think that was ever going to be heard in public.
I listened to that and I was singing that for the rest of the day, just shitty. And then I had to realise, oh, my toddler's going to be home this afternoon. I'll have to change back to Baby Shark or something.
Yeah, I think like Folk Bitch Trio, it's like you don't expect. Like that song didn't get any radio play and it probably won't. But at the time, I was just annoyed, and my friend Luke sent me a cool drum group. So like a million years old, and I just, this was during COVID, and so we're just passing files back and forth, and that's just what I sang over it because I was just annoyed, and it felt really good to do that. I did never think like this is going to be an earworm, but I love an earworm when they happen. Sometimes they're just annoying though, aren't they? It's like the line between genius and dipshittedness is very fine. Yeah, I don't know what the answer is really. Yeah.
What do you think, Bec? The cogs are turning.
I was thinking about like the song titles in my head, and the first thing that came to my mind is when I wrote a song called I'll Never Want a Boyfriend, and I intentionally was writing it to my mum's Bible study. And then there's that, writing it and then showing it to your mum and then your grandma. And then they're like, why did you have to drop the F-bomb though, Rebecca? So there's that, and then there's also like performing it live is also another layer where you see like men singing it back to you, like, I'll never want a boyfriend. And then, yeah, there's just layers of like people hearing what they want to hear also. And like, yeah, or like another song, You're a Fucking Joke, the same thing, like my grandma was like, I should have lost my hearing by this point and I have to hear this. So, yes, I don't have an answer, but I think always just write the thing that feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to throw to the crowd now because we've 15 minutes left. Oh, okay. Let's do 15 minutes though of crowd questions. Then if we run out, I've got a few more here up my sleeve. So does anyone have a question for anyone? Yeah, down here.
I don't know if anyone in particular, but do you ever come to a point in songwriting where you're, what you write, you heard it in the ones you love? And how do you navigate through that? because that stops my writing process many times.
I mean, for that one, I'll never want a boyfriend. My mum and I went to therapy together, which was awesome. So there was hurt, but I think good conversations can come from a song. Yeah, just emotional regulation, trusting people in your life can hear the things and you can talk about it.
Yeah, I think there's like a fine line between having a responsibility to be aware of what you're putting out into the world and how that is going to affect people around you. Like I can resonate with that, and like, you know, writing a song about a relationship or something where it's obviously, you know, it's something that you feel like you need to say or something that you're saying, but you feel like you have to filter the truth in order to kind of then compromise on the truth to protect somebody from maybe being hurt by something you're saying in a song. But maybe it's an opportunity to have an honest conversation with that person and yourself and try and find a way to be classy about, you know, what you're saying, or even just on a broader interpersonal way to kind of figure out if that's something that you want to put out into the world or.
Would you discuss it with the person or people or entities?
I mean, that's totally your journey, brother. I mean, I think maybe it would. You never know. Like, the thing is, I think that like what you are putting out to the world can have impacts on your personal life as well. You know, like if you're talking about politics or interpersonal relationships and you're in these capacities where maybe you have to do a press release, or maybe you have to talk to somebody about a song, or maybe social media starts commenting about certain things and it does have a real impact on your personal life. So, you know, there are things to consider in that way if you are releasing music professionally and you know, kind of being considerate about what that means. But at the same time, I think, you know, it depends on what you're writing music for and what it means to you, and being, you know, if you don't want to compromise on your own art and something that's important to you, then maybe it's just figuring out, you know, what's important for you to say and not to say, and just having discernment with that. If that answers your question. I don't know. That's just,
I feel like everyone loves a bit of like Taylor Swift and Kanye beef. Like, I think if you're punching like across, it's okay. If you're punching down, I don't know. Depends who. Like, I would just be like, am I going to feel good about this? Like, in 10 years, will I look back and be like, that was necessary to say? Like, am I going to be performing this in a room with that person and 20 other people, or thinking I'm a dickhead? I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely. We've all probably considered that at times. If there's another song you can put out, just put that one out.
We've got another question down here.
Well, like my debut single was called Fucking Brown, and my nan still will not listen to it. But in terms of that and using, just looking at the question, have you ever used anything like samples of other people in it? Or like voice, like voice memos and stuff?
Do you mean of like family members?
Yeah.
Well,
And how would you use that in a way that is legal?
Oh, so they don't know it's going to be in the song?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you done anything like that, or like break any notes, environmental, stuff like that?
I think you would need to get their permission to release that, I would suspect.
Yeah.
Well, I did have a main question with basic what you guys talked before. With cross genres and writing other genres, how do you not get overwhelmed with the opportunities and options? I find that things going back, like I tend to go back and forth a lot. This very working with more rocking, more hobby, so how do you?
do you mean in like your artist identity? Like, how do you stay focused on what's true to you without kind of...
True bubble of what your genre is, primarily. But like I don't know, just trying to hone in on and making a conscious decision on what's actually
that's a good question. When I started on my journey about 11 years ago, I felt like I had to kind of build this brand for myself where I was kind of sticking to one genre. But I'm influenced and inspired by so many different genres. Like I started off in a heavy metal band where I didn't sing at all. It was like yelling and mostly yelling. And then I started singing. Then I went into like a folk band, and then I got into hip hop when the folk band split up, and I was like, no one's gonna understand me. But I think for the music that was coming out, I guess I was kind of like choosing the genres that would best serve the song and the message that I was trying to share. Yeah, because I think, and I love how one of my friends put it in a songwriting workshop that she ran, Anya Tyrell. She was talking about how we're also the caretakers of songs. So when we're blessed with this song that comes into our life, we do, have to exercise that kind of like responsibility of like, is this a song that needs to be shared with everyone? Or is it a personal song that maybe we can keep just for ourselves or for people that we know that we can trust? Not every song that we write needs to be out in the world as well. That's just been a bit about my experience.
I think just trusting your vision for the song and trusting your taste as an artist. Like I know your project, Jess, and you've got such a great fingerprint on stuff. And I think, when you think about your favorite artists, when I think about my favorite artists, they've got such a strong fingerprint. And so just knowing when, you're like kind of anxious or insecure thoughts come in, just being mindful of those, and then also being like, actually, like, I love this, and this is the thing that gets me excited, and therefore, other people will kind of be drawn to this too. But yeah, I think just always coming back to the vision for the world of the songs. Yeah.
Could we not? Sorry, I'm just going to black cap first, and then I'll jump to you.
Continuing on this conversation, how do you stop self-editing and self-sabotage? I write stuff. Just started writing again, and I'm just everything I write. I spend way too much time editing. And the second part of that is I've spent most of my career working for other artists in Canada and North America. And I always swore, after having played in bands for many years before I started touring, was that I would never be a shop artist. And that's exactly what I've become. So I find that I am playing with people more back up in Sydney. So I'm trying to find people like down here since we moved here. So I guess the question would be is just how do you just stop the fucking self-sabotage and the editing and and it was another part to that is coming here today I was like, oh, I've got to go through my phone that has a million different clips in it. I'm essentially I was saying I will play stuff. Is that I actually forced myself to actually spend some time writing yesterday, and it's amazing how much stuff came out of that note that I was coming to. So yeah, the question is how do you stop the editing, and sabotage for me anyway?
I feel like there's a lot of different questions and almost answers in that question.
Just the first question.
Yeah. Firstly, I like the term shadow artist, and I think that could be a cool artist name for you. If you put out a whole album under that name, like I would listen to it. Also, like, I do a lot of supporting other artists, and I think what I'm trying to get better at is this idea that, supporting another artist isn't artistry, and it really is. And when you're working with other artists, you are enabling their vision, but also, getting paid, which is great, meeting people, which is great, offering your own creative insights for their project, which is great. And I just think, like, what else might you be doing? You're probably still gonna write your own music regardless. I think about this a lot because I sing backups to Missy Higgins, and sometimes just standing behind someone is like saying, this person is better than me. Like, and that's a hard thing, but also, like, how cool that I get to do that and learn from her. and be with my friends playing music. Like, I understand your struggle, but I also think capitalism has told us that we have to be fucking our own lead singers all the time, and I think that's not the case. I think that's...
I'll add that I was actually, like, zero support. I wasn't actually a musician in those days, although the guy that I used to play with was the artist that I was working with, the bass player. So I was really almost literally on production support. I wasn't actually playing.
Oh, cool.
So it was really kind of,
Well, there's a pathway there too. Like, I have a friend who's a stage manager who's plays every instrument, and he's creating his own music now very successfully. But I heard about an app. I don't know if you guys know. I don't even know what it's called. But like, when you write, it just starts deleting. If you stop, like if you're stopped for any length of time, it just starts like eating up what you've already written. It sounds fucking terrifying, but it's just like a Pac-Man. Yeah, like a Pac-Man for writing. So it doesn't allow your, it's like almost like it doesn't allow your critical voice to enter the room. You just have to keep writing, or else that shit's going to get deleted. And I really I like the idea as an experiment of just like, I don't have time to listen to you right now, critical voice. Like, you can just get out of the room. I got to finish this thing that I'm trying to say, and you got to say that stuff right from your gut. Like, you don't have time to finesse it. And if anyone knows what that app's called, I'd be interested to find out. But there are lots of things out there to help us with our creative process, and I think one of the main things is just creating limitations. Like, I think most people will say, you know, create a boundary around what you do. 15 minutes if you've got ADHD, which I think I have, and probably everyone in the room. And like, write on one instrument. Like, don't try and sit down and build an orchestra like when you're trying to write a song. Like, I think that unless that's what you need to do, like, do what you need to do and find the boundaries that you need in order to shut that critical voice out, because we all have that voice, and it's a pain in the butt. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you just need to back yourself too. Like, and if you're comparing yourself to people around you or who you're inspired by, or, you know, artists that influence you, like, you just need to be the best version of yourself and the best songwriter in yourself, and that's all that matters. And just seeing ideas through, you know, like, if you start to second guess yourself and stop before an idea's complete, or before you give it the opportunity you're sort of doing yourself a disservice. And I think it just comes from some level of confidence, whether you need to fake that or do it, you know. Like, I think just see an idea through and then reflect after. Don't stop until you've finished it, and don't start criticizing it as you halfway through before it has an opportunity, you know. Like, the amount of songs that I've written that you know, not great, you know, like, and like objectively not great, and then you push and then you know, and still maybe they're not great, but they get there, you know. So it's like, you just kind of, and you never know what people are going to think of it, and it's just so subjective, you know. Like, just don't worry about, yeah, you can just control your own voice, you can't control everybody else's.
It's called the most dangerous writing app.
The most dangerous writing app. Yeah.
There we go.
Check it out. I haven't checked it out. I will check
Not a
it out.
sponsored ad, but what about you? We had a question down the front here. This will be the last one. We've got 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Lily Brooks. I'm from South Coast Arts. I'm overseeing a project at the moment that is we're doing a survey at the moment for people who are musicians, songwriters, singers, anyone in the music landscape. And so please jump on South Coast Arts, go sign on the Facebook page and fill that in and have your voice heard firstly. Now, one of the things that's coming up a lot with the people that are doing the songwriting section is they're voicing concerns and anxiety around AI and how that's affecting their writing and the entire landscape. So what I'd love to know is how you guys are actually managing in this new technological landscape, and if you have any advice for new and emerging writers and people that are in the industry already as to how they might be able to look at AI.
I was waiting for AI to come up. We've got 2 minutes, gang. Let's go.
I've used AI to get a way of like breaking down artists better and how they like song. Like, for example, somebody
between lines being very visual or something, and just how the structure of their song would be, and how you create an example for myself, so I have like a visual write a song, I want to write a song with more alternative. I've used it in that way, I find that really breaking them down, not using it for
I think it can be like a very scary idea, and like obviously like there's a really negative side to the way that it's like kind of monopolizing like the streaming platforms, and like there's like a lot of like it is really scary and it has a really negative impact on like on a industry level, and like it, you know, the idea of it cutting out artists. But I think like if you look at the progression of technology throughout the years of like, you know, even like synthesizers and like different sorts of instruments that have like built-in arpeggiators and different things that were new technology that kind of, it, you know, obviously it's a slightly different conversation, but technology is always going to advance and there's always different ways to engage with it. And I think the main priority is kind of just like keeping your artistry and your integrity in how you engage with those tools, and maybe, you know, being open but also not compromising on, you know, like your artistry. I think like it's kind of coming up more and more, especially in like, you know, in big studios and especially in America and places, like a lot of big producers are using AI for different capacities, and it's completely your choice whether you engage with it or not. But I think like from an artistry perspective, I think it, you know, I think maybe there's a world where you can engage with it as an artist, but like it's definitely super fucked for like on an industry level. But I don't know, they're two different conversations in my personal opinion.
Okay, that's right on 12:30. I'm sorry, going to cut it off there today. You will be seeing these guys around a little bit later, and most of you will have workshops. Well, you will all have most of you, unless you're going home. You will all have workshops with some of them today. So if you have any other burning questions, I guess we can ask them a little bit later. But before we break now, I'd just like to thank the panel for their generosity and their time today. Thank you so much, everyone. We're going to head into lunch now, which is a great opportunity for you guys to have a chat with Music New South Wales. So are they in the room here with us now?
Yeah.
Yep. Sam's ready to go down the back.
Already talking into lunch.
He's already got the watermelon in hand. He's ready to have a conversation. So please find Sam and have a chat with him. After lunch, we'll be moving straight into our first workshop sessions at 1:30 p.m, so in an hour. Please make sure you're back and ready to go on time. Just a gentle reminder, everyone needs to attend the workshop that's listed on their lanyard. I've taken mine up, this is a lanyard. On the back of there, you'll have who you need to be, as that's where you've been allocated. So enjoy lunch, have some great combos, and we'll see you back here at 1:30. No, they'll be downstairs. I think,